See, I was talking about all this mud that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Such is life. Next year, hopefully, we can get around to getting this all done properly and get rid of the mud. Got some more bales dropped off this morning. So this is hay. And these bales have been sitting outside. That's why one side goes bad. But the inside is still perfectly fine. So a lot of people don't know that on a round bale. Here's a great example. It's a nice, even round bale. When they're sitting like this, the majority of the rain that comes down will just run off the sides. But you do end up with a little bit of spoilage, you know, usually 4 or 5 inches on the outside of the bale, and a little bit extra on the bottom because it's sitting there. The rest of the bale is perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. And so bales can stay outside like this all year round, not an issue. And it depends on what you're feeding though. If you're feeding a dairy cow, you don't want to do that. But if you're feeding a beef cow or young heifers or sheep, it's not really a big deal. You just take the molded stuff off the top, throw it away, and feed the rest of this. And so in here, this is still perfectly good hay inside the bale. The other thing, with the sun, it bleaches it, so it just looks yellow, like a straw bale. But if you can get in, which I can't, it's a nice tight bale. If I could find a place to get in, then I could show you that it's still green. But I mean, it's a really hard bale, so it's hard to get in here.
And I got some.
Well, yeah, but you don't have any nice green stuff. In any case, inside there, it's still green. Yeah, it's perfectly good feed. Nothing wrong with it. And lots of farmers in America and Canada have their bales outside all the time. They don't have a place to store their bales, and they just stay outside. This year, we do. We have a spot in the shop, the work shed here. So I'm going to put some more bales in there right now. These 5, try to keep them dry. And he's going to be bringing more. I think I ordered 50 bales. So yesterday, he brought me 5, and today I have another 5. Yeah, so that's 10. So it'll be another 40 bales or so coming yet that we can put in, and then that should be pretty much all we need for the winter. We're using the grapple on the front here. This is one specifically made for picking up bales wrapped in plastic, because it won't damage them. But it also works great for picking up bales without plastic, of course. It just has a hydraulic cylinder here which opens and closes this squeeze. The idea is that if it's wrapped in plastic, so a silage bale, you don't want any holes in it, because then oxygen will get in and the bale will rot. This is a dry bale, totally different. But with a silage bale, you bale it wet. I would mow it one day, bale it the next day, and the hay itself will actually be wet. And that would rot very quickly, except if you cover it in plastic, then it can't rot. It just ferments and makes for really, really nice feed. Especially for dairy cattle, I really like that. But the key is that no oxygen can get in. It has to stay completely wrapped. And therefore, we pick it up with a clamp like this, because it doesn't damage it. If I used my bale spear, this one, I would end up poking a hole in it. And when I pull it out, I have to patch that hole with some tape, or it will rot there. So that's the idea behind this clamp. We're going to use that now, put it in, then I'm going to go help Wes in the garden patch there with some more corn for the pigs. My main man is already in the tractor, ready to go, hey?
What's that for?
What's the plywood for?
Yeah.
The whole thing. Plywood so I can work on it. Tractor in here so I don't get wet.
Yeah.
And I need to figure out what's wrong with the motor because it won't run. And hopefully find parts.
Awesome.
That's the plan.
Cool.
It hasn't run since what? Spring?
Oh, yeah,
When we first bought it, it was hard starting. And it did work. But then just got worse and worse and worse. Now it doesn't start. Period. So I think it's the rings on the pistons, but I need to take the valves off, or the valve cover off, and have a look inside. Probably take the head apart. The rebuild kit, I could find a 3-cylinder rebuild kit for a Subaru. The different, it's a 1540, SD 1540. It's a 3-cylinder engine.
Okay.
I can find that here in Russia, but I can't find a 2-cylinder for the SD 1800. Okay, another project that I wanted to get done this winter, so that I could find parts, basically, is have this tractor ready to use again, is, I forget how I even started that. Anyways, this tractor, Subaru SD 1800, and when I bought it, it kind of ran. It was hard starting, and I figured it was a glow plug issue, but slowly but surely it got worse and worse and worse, and it's got nothing to do with glow plugs. I've already checked that all works. It's got nothing to do with, you know, the charging system or the alternator. I had all sorts of suggestions. It's just hard starting. And basically, the way any engine works, you have pistons inside and you have rings, which gives compression. A diesel engine needs the compression in order to run, absolutely. There's no spark, so the diesel, when it comes under compression, actually blows up, and that's what causes the whole engine to work. And if the rings, so you have a piston, which is like a cup that goes up and down in a sleeve, and it has rings on it. And those rings help seal off airflow, I guess, inside the sleeve. If those rings are broke, then air can get by. So as this piston comes up, it should be creating compression, but if the rings are broke, that air is just going to slip past the piston, okay, and go down into the bottom. And one evidence of that would be blow-by. So blow-by is excessive air coming out of the bottom of the engine, which we also have. So there's a blow-by tube here someplace. Any case, I don't see it offhand, doesn't matter. But you can see it blowing out there. So that can be a sign, not always, there's some blow-by as normal, but it can be a sign of bad rings. And of course, hard starting. If your rings are shot, you can't get enough compression, and so the diesel will not fire, and the engine won't run. Now, once you get it running, if you get it running, so we used to be able to get it running, when the engine warms up, the rings will swell, everything will grow a little bit, and it actually helps create a little bit more compression, and it'll run good. But if the rings are already damaged, it's just going to get worse, and the worst case scenario would be the sleeves start to get wore out because of the damaged rings. So I don't know if any of that is the case. That's how it's operating. It seems to be running in a way that would suggest the rings are shot. But I don't know until I open it up. And so that's what we're doing today. We're going to start tearing some pieces off here, slowly but surely, discover what the problem is, and then hopefully, I have not found any parts yet in Russia, but hopefully I can find some parts overseas somewhere and get them brought here somehow. All right, momentarily distraction. There's barking going on like crazy. I think it's the dog, and I figured it was chasing after a cat. Yep, there's the dog. I can see it. What are you barking at? Hey, what's in there? Yeah, there is a cat. There's our cat back. Why are you barking at the cat? Hey, Lucy, come here. Come here. That's where the cat wants to live. Let it live in there. Lucy. Come here. Come here, Lucy. Come here. Well, this is always a problem with Lucy. She does not listen very well. I hope that cat bites you in the nose. That'll teach you something. All right, I got the muffler off. Muffler was here. I'm taking it off, taking the breather cap off, I'm taking the valve cover off. Now you can see into the valves. I'm trying to hold a flashlight here for you. Kind of complicated. All right, so these are the valves. And it's a 2-cylinder engine. The reason for 4 valves is intake and exhaust. And so they have to be timed perfectly to open and close at the right rates. And that can also affect compression. So that I have also checked, and they are correct. So next stage is to remove some bolts, which I think, looking at it, well, I got to take this off yet too. So this is your coolant lines. Obviously engines generate a lot of heat, and that needs to be cooled down. And so there's water that flows through special chambers, I guess, in the engine, flows back and forth, absorbs the heat from the engine, goes into the radiator where there's a fan that blows through. So if I open this, it'll be easier. That's a radiator, and those are all little fins that help cool the water. The water goes through, the fan either sucks or blows. I have seen both. In any case, it doesn't matter. The fact that air needs to go through the rad in order to cool that water, and then it goes back into the engine again. Typically, there's also a thermostat that'll open and close it, because you do want some heat in your engine. And so the thermostat is most likely sitting right in here. And it'll open up at a certain temperature, basically. So I got to take it off from what I can tell. And I don't think... Obviously the fuel lines need to go. This down here is the glow plugs. These ones. So this is the glow plug wire, which is attached to the key. You set it on there first. It sends electricity into this one and this one, which heats up. It's kind of like similar to an idea like a spark plug, except it's not a spark plug. Diesel engines don't have spark plugs. But it's an electrode inside there which generates heat and makes it warm inside the engine, which aids in combustion on a cold engine. So it's kind of like preheating it, basically. The other thing that helps, of course, is to have a heating element on the engine, either in the block or on the oil pan. I've got one here on the oil pan I stuck on last year to help heat the oil. Makes it a lot easier to start a diesel. So I got to disconnect those things and this, and then we'll take these bolts off and take the head off and have a look inside. I look forward to the day when I have concrete in here. I enjoy tinkering around in the shop. Sand's a little easier to lose stuff, and things get a lot dirtier. Okay, I've got the head off. This is the head we were just looking at. Visual inspection on the top. Everything looks okay, which I already knew. I have not looked down here yet. So here I'm looking at valves. Some of you are probably experts. So I'll read through the comments for sure. It appears to me that this side, oh, it's dirty now. I don't have the good cloths. I missed that too. Got to find a source of good cloths. But anyway, this side visibly looks better than this side. Just a little bit of buildup around there, but nothing major. The valves are not visibly cracked or damaged. That doesn't mean that they aren't damaged. They might be. That port's full. I'm guessing it's supposed to be. So these are the little jackets I was talking about. So this one here is for a bolt hole. That's a bolt hole. This is for water to travel through. That one's closed, I guess, for whatever reason. That one's open. And so water travels through those to cool the engine down. But on the surface, I mean, I got to clean it up real good and take a look. I'll probably pull the valves out, but visibly there's nothing there that I can see would be an issue. So the next side, of course, is the block, and those are your two pistons right there. So it's only a 2-cylinder, like I said, and we've got, I mean, pretty hard to tell without pulling it apart. But I was looking at these walls, these sleeves, and I don't see any scratches. At least not on that one. Now, interestingly enough, the bottom here, so this is the one that I said looked not as good. So this is the front one. This is the back one. Everything looks good here. This one looked like it's got some buildup and stuff there. And that is this front one. Again, I apologize for the poor light. So, and it also looks pretty crummy. Doesn't look nice. It's not clean like this one. Now, if you can tell a visible difference there, but that one looks a lot cleaner than this one. So it might be an indication of some issues. I don't know. There's a bit of crud here, but I think that was from me taking off the head. Yeah, that's just surface crud. So I got to get all that cleaned up. And I don't know. What we can do, we try to do, is turn it over. There it goes. It should be no problem because there's no compression now. So now you can see, it might be kind of interesting for some people to see. Gonna put some tools away. All right. This is again why I like a concrete floor, because at least if you drop a screwdriver, it doesn't get buried. I set it on a piece of plywood here. That helps a little bit. But okay, so that's how the engine works. When it's running, these run up and down. So this is now up. It's compressed. Yes, and the fuel will go boom, and it'll go back down. And then the other one's compressing now, and it goes kaboom and goes down. Okay, and so there's rings around the edges of this. Anyway, there's rings there because you don't want this rubbing against this. Okay, so the rings are the only thing that rubs. But again, visibly, I'll take a closer look when I get the camera off. I don't see any major scratches, so that's good. The only problem is I don't actually see any issues, major issues yet. And I was hoping, it's always nice when you find something, and then you know why it's not working. Now, I am not a expert at all. This is the 4th engine that I've worked on. The other 3 all with somebody else. This is the first time I've actually pulled one apart by myself, but I feel, well, I don't feel scared of it, to put it that way. I guess I've seen them opened up now. There's a lot of little components, but basically if you just use your head, don't lose anything, don't damage anything, just slowly peel off the layers and then put them back in the order that you took them off, then really there's nothing to go wrong. You're going to want to replace gaskets and seals and things like that, and of course keep everything clean, keep dirt out of it, but really it's not super complicated. All right, I will clean everything up, try to figure out what's going on. The next step, I guess, if I can't see anything here, is to pull the bottom off, the oil pan here, and then I need to pull the cylinders off the crank. So that's a little bit more work, because then I got to pull the whole crankshaft out. No, I guess it wouldn't have to come off. I can just take the cranks apart. But anyway, it's a lot more work. I was hoping I could see visibly whether or not there was damage before I got to that part. Okay, I'm not filming much of the process, and that's basically because I'm not like a qualified diesel mechanic. I'm just a farmer playing around. On a farm in Canada, United States. That's normal for us. Maybe it is here too, I don't know. But we tinker around with our own stuff. I think it is here too. And, well, you just try it. That's how you learn. So that's what I'm doing, but I'm not an expert. If you want to see how an engine is supposed to be rebuilt, there is a pile of experts out there that you can look at. I'm basically cleaning stuff up. Been washing and scrubbing and cleaning. I just got back, picked up some more, some engine degreaser, some carb cleaner, also cleaner for the injectors, because I still think that could be part of the problem. So far, I have found nothing wrong at all. And even the rings, I can't do an accurate test, compression test. The way you would do that is with it intact. You would take the injector out. This is a fuel injector right here. So this squirts a little bit of fuel into the cylinder at the right time. So it's all very important for timing. And if you take this out, that gives you access to the cylinder. And when the cylinder comes up, remember there's compression. So there's a device that you can screw into those threads to check on a gauge how much compression there is in the cylinder. And they should be, of course, the same. And then there's specs available online to tell you what it's supposed to be. I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't have a tool like that anyway. So I am doing it differently. I basically just roughly checked how much is available here, or to see that there is compression at least, and they both do have compression. So we'll just keep cleaning. Might put it all back together again and check the injectors next. Good afternoon, everybody. Arend here, Countryside Acres. We're still working on this tractor. Pardon the noise. I've got the big tractor in here because I need to use booster cables to work on the little tractor. All right, I'll shut that off for a minute because it's a lot easier to hear what's going on. What do we got going on in this tractor? So, I've pulled the head apart. I can't find anything seriously wrong in that. This is just the wire that's hanging out here for now. Can't find anything majorly wrong in there. The valves, some of them were covered in carbon inside here. So I did scrape them off. That could potentially have been a problem. Also, one of the injectors, these are the injectors laying here. Basically, they get a high pressure amount of fuel in the top here. And once the pressure is at the right timing, I guess, it sprays out the bottom. Very critical part of the whole combustion system. This part here is just the fuel that doesn't get used can go back to the tank, back into the fuel tank. So one of these was really dirty. That's not a good thing. So I cleaned it all up. It's stuck to this. This is where the fuel pressure comes from. So this is your injection pump. So it gets fuel from the tank, from this hose, goes through this filter, goes into the injection pump, creates a lot of pressure, pumps that up into these injectors, and then sprays into these holes. Okay, and that is directly where the pistons are. So it'll spray a little bit of fuel in there, and then you need compression in order to make the diesel fuel blow up. And then the explosions that happen in the engine is what makes the piston then go back down, and then it just keeps doing that process and running. So something in the whole system is not working. The other thing you have is glow plugs. Those glow plugs, I don't know how well you can see here. Turn this light on. The glow plugs go in there. So that's where your injectors go into. And then there's a glow plug here. And then I have this one out right now. This one works. You can actually see the tip of it right there above my finger. And it'll glow red hot. Now, in order for fuel to burn, a diesel fuel, it runs better on a warm engine. Sometimes when the engine's cold in the winter, diesels don't like to start. The gas engine will still start because it just needs a spark and some fuel. This needs compression and heat. And if it don't have it, it won't start very well. So very important part to have glow plugs. And this one wasn't working. So I've hunted high and low all across Russia. I've had numerous different people looking for me. Mechanic shops, they can't find them. I can find them in Canada, no problem, but I can't find them here. So it's something that I will have to bring in because I can't find here. Now, I am going to try to fix it. Basically, everybody online says you can't. I'm going to keep playing with it. Maybe I can make something work. Can you run without a glow plug? Yes, but it is part of the system and definitely would help. So, scraping the carbon off the valve, fixing the injector, cleaning it up, and getting this going would be nice if I can get it going. The other problem, I believe, is I have a weak starter. It doesn't turn over very fast. And so again, in order to create enough compression to get it fired up, you want something that turns over quick. So I think my starter needs to be replaced. I also have a dead battery. I know that, but I've replaced the battery with a brand new one, and it didn't solve my problem. And now, of course, this has been sitting all summer long. It's dead. So I don't think that's the issue by itself, but a combination of things is a problem. I took the engine apart as I showed in the videos. I didn't see any visible issues on the sleeve walls of the cylinders. Not guaranteed, but I would think if the rings failed, you would see some kind of scoring on the cylinder walls, and they were spotless. Now that's not guaranteed. The other thing that can happen is that the rings could be stuck on the cylinder. So they're not broke, they're just not expanding back out. They're stuck closed. And that'll allow, of course, air to compress to get by. So we're going to get everything hooked back up here. We're going to do another compression test and see what we can come up with and try to determine some results on that. I'm hoping to get this thing running, or at least figure out what's wrong with it so that I can order the right kind of parts. People come back and forth from Canada and the US all the time. We have people visiting us lots of times, other immigrants, and somebody can easily bring me some parts that I can't find here. But I need to know what's wrong with it before I can do that. Other than that, it's been a great little tractor when it ran. I really like having it, and it'd be really nice to get it going again. Now you're up to speed on that. I'm going to keep working on that. I'm not going to film anything. It's really boring. I mean, it would just be running and you wouldn't see anything, but I'm going to be basically putting the booster cables on it to give it some juice and playing with it, turning it over, and just thinking, trying to figure out what I can get, sorted out here to make it run. So, yeah, pretty boring material. Sorry. Okay, we're still working on this tractor. The goal here is to figure out what's wrong. So the starter, I believe, is running too slow. And I don't think that's a battery issue because, like I said before, I replaced the battery. And also charging seems to be an issue. So I am going to take both the starter and the alternator off and send them in There's lots of companies around, but one specifically in Nizhny Novgorod, in the city, that I'm going to take them to, and they're going to test them to make sure they're still good, and hopefully rebuild them. I think the starter's running too slow, and hopefully they have some replacement parts that'll fix that. So this is a starter for the engine. Basically just a strong motor. There's a big flywheel here stuck to the engine, and it cranks that over, building up enough compression to fire up the engine. And this is an alternator, basically a generator. It runs once the motor's running. The belt turns this, spins this around, which then charges the system. And both of them are pretty old, and well, just as old as the machine, I guess. So I would like to get them both serviced or replaced, one of the two, just to make sure everything's good. The other problem is the injectors. I don't believe they're running properly either. So these are the two injectors. We pulled them apart and cleaned them. The one was really dirty, and I'm looking online, they say they should be maintained or replaced. I forget how many hours it was now, but in any case, I'm pretty sure we're over that. So a tractor equipment dealership in Nizhny Novgorod has an availability to test these, so we're going to pull them out, send them to him, and get them tested, and basically replace any parts there as well, because that's an important part of the component as well. What else? I think that's about it. I need to, so I've temporarily put this back together, but I'm still going to be buying a new head gasket kit, new seals, new gaskets, new rings, a whole bunch of stuff, just to refurbish it. So we had the head off, we put the gasket back in, but it was not in very good shape, and then I will be ordering a new one of those as well. Also need an exhaust gasket here, although this one still looks like in pretty good shape. This gasket for the air intake was not, so we need to replace it, and yeah, just bunch of different stuff. So hopefully eventually we're going to get this thing running. If nothing else, it's been really educational for myself, for the kids. As we're working on this thing, we're learning a lot, doing a lot of research online, and just learning a lot about diesel engines, how they work, and that's all part of it as well. It's part of education, part of school. You continue to build more and more knowledge as you experiment and play with stuff. And that's important, because there's lifelong skills that we can learn from this. As the children are also studying and learning about how this all works, you know, you never know where that's going to take them in life. And that's something to do with homeschooling again, because they have these options. Okay, they do their book learning. For the record, I just found out you are almost 2 grades ahead in your homeschool.
1.5.
1.5. That's almost 2 ahead of where you're supposed to be. You're going to be going into grade 5. And you're supposed to be going into grade 3.
4.
Well, you're supposed to be working on 3 right now, but you just finished 4. So you're going into 5. So
Yeah.
Good job. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's also something you cannot do in a regular school setting. In a homeschool setting, you can go as fast as you want. Okay, it's just however many hours you want to put into it. Then you get your work done. And so they can do that here. And on top of that, they learn, of course, all sorts of other life skills. If you watch the channel, you'll see that they learn a lot of stuff here on the farm that regular school can't teach you. So there's a pile of bonuses to homeschooling, not very many negatives. This is one of the bonuses. So we're all learning about engines as we do this. So even if everything we do doesn't work, we still learned a lot, and that's a bonus.